فكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم.
Allah, mashallah, subhanallah, mashallah, mashallah. Viewers of Madani Channel, we should make a habit of reading the Quran on a daily basis. Amir al-Sunnat in the Madani Namat card, he advises us to read at least 3 ayats every day with translation and commentary. So please make an intention to try and act upon that Madani Namat and try and act upon all of the Madani Namats. The Madani Namat card can be purchased from any Maktabat al-Madina stall or can be downloaded from dawatislami.net website completely free of charge. Before we continue with the topics today, inshallah, we're going to have a kalam or a naat, inshallah. Ji Madina? Ji mashallah.
Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah wa sallam alayka ya Habiballah. پھینکے گلی گلی تباہ ٹھوکریں سب کی کھائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں رخصت کا فلا کا شور غش سے ہمیں اٹھائے کیوں رخصت کا فلا کا شور غش سے ہمیں اٹھائے کیوں سوتے ہیں ان کے سائے میں کوئی ہمیں جگائے کیوں سوتے ہیں ان کے سائے میں کوئی ہمیں جگائے کیوں بار نہ تھے حبیب کو پالتے ہی غریب کو بار نہ تھے حبیب کو پالتے ہی غریب کو روئے جو اب نصیب کو چین کہو گوائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں ہے تو رضا نراستم جرم پہ گر لجائے ہے تو رضا نراستم جرم پہ گر لجائے ہم کوئی بجائے سوز غم سازے طرب بجائے کیوں کوئی بجائے سوز غم سازے طرب بجائے کیوں دل کو جو عقل دے خدا تیری گلی سے جائے کیوں
Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching the special Muharram transmission, The Saviours of Islam. I believe there's a number at the bottom of the screen if you wish to ring in with your views, your comments, your questions, inshallah Azza wa Jalla, we'll take them. And if you ring in today, we'll take them inshallah Azza wa Jalla tomorrow as well. Yesterday we were talking about the great personality of Islam, one of the saviors of Islam, Sayyidina Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And yesterday we talked about his character, his position, his status before he accepted Islam as well. And mashallah, we had a muballigh with us yesterday that mentioned some of the things that Sayyidina Hazrat Umar Farooq brought into the establishment. So when the Muslim empire was expanding, at the same time the facilities, the infrastructure that was brought in by Sayyidina Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu today around the world, them Madani pearls, them Madani institutions that he brought about in that time, we are seeing around the world even today. However, the topic is so vast that it couldn't be covered in just one day. And even today, we're all thinking to ourselves that we've only got a half an hour and there's so much that we can discuss. So we've got a few things that we want to, inshallah, share with you. And inshallah, we'll share that with you. MashaAllah, the muballighs are here with us. MashaAllah, Wasim Bhai is with us here. Ustaz Shah Sahab, MashaAllah, is here with us as well. Inshallah, he will give us his Madani pearls. Shah Sahab, you were mentioning that you wanted to inform us and inform the viewers about some of the characteristics, some of the traits of Sayyidina Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu, so that make us realize that he wasn't just, he was a pious Muslim, he was a famous Muslim, he was a ruler, but his character is something that we should look up to and should aspire to. And inshallah, I'm hoping that you can enhance on that.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Definitely the personality of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu himself, if we talk about his character, there's actually, this is in itself is a broad topic. So we could look at it from many aspects. For example, if we just take his humbleness and his humility, especially when it comes to being humble amongst believers and even in the court of Allah. We normally hear about the awe-inspiring personality of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, that he had a great presence.
Yes.
But at the same time, especially after becoming the leader of the believers, they had not seen a man that was kinder, that was more kind than Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu.
Subhanallah.
And this is something, so when we look at his humbleness, for example, we see that Sayyidina Sa'id bin Musayyab radiallahu anhu, he narrates that whenever Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, the leader of all the believers, whenever he would travel out, whenever he was traveling anywhere, he would not be laying out any sort of a bed, any sort of a tent. He would just gather some dust and some sand,
Allahu Akbar.
and then put down a shawl,
Allahu
a
Akbar.
cloth, a piece of cloth, and just lie down on top of that.
Allah.
And this was his way of traveling. And likewise, it is narrated with regards to his Hajj journey. This is the leader of the believers. But he goes to Hajj just like any ordinary person. In fact, probably even less in terms of the facilities that he had. Because it is narrated when he went for Hajj, he never put down a tent. He never sort of had any of these facilities. But even during the day, whenever he wanted to rest, he would just put across a piece of cloth on a tree and just rest under the shade of that cloth. So this was his way, and this was his manner of living, despite him being the leader of the believers.
And he could have had any form of luxury that he wished. He could have had tents with him. He could have had all sorts of.
He could have had
a whole camp with him.
servants and
Everything could have been with him.
And when we look at his personality as a person, one of the beautiful things that stand out is one of his actually very famous sayings is, he says that أَحَبُّ النَّاسِ إِلَيَّ مَنْ رَفَعَ إِلَيَّ عُيُوبِ, that the most beloved to me is the one who informs me of my defects, of my shortcomings.
Allahu Akbar.
And thinking about the personality that we normally hear.
Think about anybody nowadays being in a position of status, being in a commanding position. They don't want anybody to point out their defects. And they would take it very, very negatively if anybody points out their defects.
Just to pick up on this point about Sayyidina Umar Farooq Azam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, in terms of his humility, being humble, lowering yourself, having ajizi is one thing. But like Ustaz Shah Sahab mentioned, that having that humility as a leader and in front of those whom you lead, this is another level of humility in itself. There are many incidents. There's one in particular. There was a time during his life when he became unwell. And the people recommended to him, there was a particular type of honey that he should take for shifa, for cure for his illness. And that honey was available in what we call the Baitul Mal. And the people said to him, just go and take it. And he said, no, it doesn't belong to me, I can't take it. He says, I want the permission of my people. Once my people give me permission, then I will take it. And in fact, he then went to the extent that he gathered all the Muslims in the masjid. He made an announcement and he asked if there's anybody who objects. When nobody objected, then and only then did he take this. And you know, from this, what we learn is that a leader is somebody who shows by example. And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, his life is a teaching for us in that respect, that the leaders who gain a place in the hearts of the congregation are those who actually lead by example. And many examples of this from his life.
You know what, as you're both talking about the humbleness of Sayyidina Hazrat Umar Farooq, I was thinking, straight away as you were both talking, I started thinking about Amir al-Sunnat. That we see at the beginning of every Madani Muzakara, Bapa says that, look, if you see me making any mistakes, if you see me going off the track, then correct me and don't think that I will not, I won't argue with you. And he doesn't just say it. There's been many examples, those of you that have the habit of watching Madani Muzakara, there's been many times where the muftis are there, the ulama ikram are there, and they will say, no, Bapa, this is exactly what you should do. And maybe it's a slight, but Bapa has no hesitation, in saying that, okay, I've made a mistake. And again, if you see that as well, Wasim, but that again is tarbiyat for all of us as well. That, that tarbiyat comes down because of Amir al-Sunnat, that we need to be humble. We shouldn't be afraid of being corrected, especially when it comes to the Shariat. And, Bapa has put that in, I believe, in all of the Muballighs of Dawat Islami.
And that itself is a form of humility as well.
Yes.
Another form of humility is not being hindered in terms of what you want to do because people are looking. There's a lot of people who might, who might wash the dishes
Again,
at home.
I'm thinking about me, listen.
Yeah. But if people were around, they'd be like, well, I don't want people to see me in that kind of state. But Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, there's another incident mentioned in the books, that they had some camels. And Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they are massaging oil into the camels. It was a tradition in order to look after them. And somebody asked them, they said that, why are you doing this? You're leader of the Muslims. Get a servant to do this. And Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he replied that there is no servant better than I to do this job.
Allahu Akbar.
And again, in terms of leadership, and Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, his life and the life of the Sahaba is, you could say, they are role models in terms of leadership, in terms of, increasing and expanding and all those kind of things. In terms of leadership, a key quality is that if you are one that rolls up your sleeves and gets involved yourself, rather than just points the fingers and says what needs to be done, you're far more likely to inspire those who you're trying to inspire.
People will follow you.
Yeah, absolutely.
People will respect you, and a time will come where they will say, no, you sit down, we'll do it, but you have to lead initially.
And the source of all of this tarbiyat is from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we hear stories about them that the Sahaba, they were gathered, there's a fire, and somebody's cooking the meat, somebody would slaughter the animal. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go and collect the wood. And the companions would say, Ya Rasulullah, this is why we are here. Please sit, rest, we'll do all of this. And the Prophet alaihi salatu wasallam would insist that they would take part in the preparation.
Again, mashallah, both of these traits that we're mentioning today about leadership and qualities like that, by leading by example and the humbleness. I'm constantly thinking about Amir al-Sunnat as both of you are talking. And an incident come to my mind that somebody related to this incident to me, that before the Ijtimas in Multan Sharif, there was a ground in Karachi, I think Kakri ground they called it, where there was an Ijtima there, and somebody related this event to me, and they said that Amir al-Sunnat, he went into the Stanjakhana, and when he came out, he asked for a stick, and he said, bring me a big stick. So they said, Papa, why, what is it? And he said, just bring me a big stick. So they went and got a big 5-6 foot stick. And Amir al-Sunnat started cleaning out the drains because they were blocked. And he got this stick and he's unblocking the drains. And they're all saying to him that, Bapa, why are you doing this? This is our job. And Bapa said that every job is my job. So again, that leading by example, that, getting your hands dirty, so to speak, as we would say here, Amir al-Sunnat has shown us that as a practical example. And I think that again is tarbiyat for all of the Zimmedars that are watching, that we should lead by example. We should be willing, as they say, to get our hands dirty, to get involved in the work. And if you get involved in the work and you lead from the front, so to speak, then people will inshallah follow you as well. But then coming back to Sayyidina Hazrat Umar Farooq. That's just like one trait that we mentioned, and it's kind of like...
There's even so much more yet to say, but I think before we actually move on, another trait actually that Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, it stands out in his life, is his ability to judge things and ability to understand situations so well. And I think the most clear example from this, or examples, are the fact that whenever he would be saying something in the court of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the court of our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, an ayah of the Quran would be revealed in accordance, which coincides and which is in accordance with the opinion of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu. For example, he was mentioning in the court of the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that why don't we pray at the Maqam Ibrahim, the station, the standing place of Sayyidina Ibrahim ala nabina alayhi salatu wasalam. And then an ayah in the Quran was revealed which commanded
Ya Rasul salam alayka, Ya Habib salam alayka, Ya Habib salam alayka, salawatullah alayka, salawatullah alayka, salam جو گو تیرے پران سلام ہے جو گو تیرے ایمان دینر بادشاہ سلطان دینر بادشاہ سلطان تمہار تورے پران قربان یا نبی سلام علیکہ یا رسول سلام علیکہ یا حبیب سلام علیکہ یا حبیب سلام علیکہ صلوات اللہ علیکہ صلوات اللہ علیکہ جو کون ہو بھی تو مردیدار تو کون عید ہو بے آمار آمیدو دیکھا شپانے آمیدو دیکھا شپانے مدنی مدینے والے یا نبی سلام علیکہ یا رسول سلام علیکہ یا حبیب سلام علیکہ یا حبیب سلام علیکہ صلوات اللہ علیکہ صلوات اللہ علیکہ یا نبی سلام علیکہ या रसूल सलाम अलैका या हबीब सलाम अलैका या How to download Islamic books on your mobile phone. There is a beautiful app named Islamic eBooks Library that provides thousands of Islamic books in more than 36 languages. Just select your favorite language and download the book that you want to read offline. Download the app from Play Store and increase your Islamic knowledge. Please don't forget to submit your reviews.
غلام رسول غلام رسول غلام رسول के मदनी फूल غلام रसूल अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू वालेकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू लगता है आज आपकी अम्मी अब्बू ने आपको डांटा है तो क्या आप घर से यहाँ इजाजत लेकर आए हैं नहीं प्यारे फैजान भाई आप गुस्सा मत करें गुलाम रसूल भाई फिर आप ही
leave this world. That time came. He wanted to make sure that there is still no argument or any sort of disagreement, conflict amongst the Muslims when he leaves. So then what he did, he formed a committee of around about six individuals who were then to decide the next the leader of the believers, and all the Muslims would accept. So this was another one of his beautiful ways of judging that, so far this has been the reason for why there has been no conflict amongst the Muslims. And how can I continue that? So even before his passing away, he actually appointed this committee.
If you just look at that point, the wisdom behind that is amazing as well, isn't it? To ensure that continues. To ensure
his true concern for the ummah of the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's not just as a leader, as a believer, he was from his side, he was doing as much as he could whilst he was alive. But even when he knows after his departure from this world, what is he leaving behind? How can he further facilitate the ummah? So this is another beautiful example to sort of, in one sense, future-proof as well, in terms of especially religious issues. And then when we look at him, his softness of his heart, as Wasim has already hinted, was his love for the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and him showing that love and expressing that love. And on the other hand is his fear of Allah Azza wa Jal that he had. For example, the Sahaba narrate that he, radiyallahu anhu, once led the Fajr prayer, and he was reciting Surah Yusuf in that prayer. And it's actually mentioned that it was a habit of his that he would either recite like Surah Yusuf, Surah Nahl, these long surahs, and he would actually elongate the qiraat in his first rakat, so that those that were slightly delayed could still come and join the jama'ah. And during this recitation of Surah Yusuf, he started to cry. And he started to cry, and we could clearly hear him. We could clearly hear him crying. That's how loud he was crying. And when he stopped, eventually, that's when we went for ruku. So this was his way of praying as well. His fear of Allah Azza wa Jal overcoming his heart and his feelings, and him being overcome by the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, and at the same time, the effect that this Quranic recitation had. In fact, we hear about him, his acceptance of Islam. The scholars have mentioned before, there were certain incidents that led up to him becoming a Muslim, that led up to a further increase of the love of Islam in his heart. And one of them was that he was in the he went to the Haram, the blessed Kaaba, and he heard the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciting the glorious Quran. And this is the effect that the Quran has. So he started to feel that sweetness of the Quran, and he instantly thought to himself, people say the truth, that he is a sha'ir, he's a poet. And then when he was thinking this, the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam recites an ayah that innahu laqawlu rasulin kareem, that this is the speech of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wa ma huwa biqawli sha'ir, and this is not the speech of a poet. And then he thinks, wow, he must be a soothsayer. Not a poet, but a soothsayer. Like the people were under this misconception of calling him a magician, some were calling him a poet. So he was going further along that line. And as he is thinking this, the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reading, وَلَا بِقَوْلِ كَاهِنٍ. This is not the speech of a soothsayer as well. All of this Quran flowing, as thoughts are coming to his mind, he's hearing his answers. So this further increased his love for Islam. And then eventually, obviously, we hear how he became a Muslim. That's a very famous incident and a faith-refreshing incident within itself.
Couple of minutes. So if you can just read the kalam with regards to when he listened to his sister and how he accepted Islam.
اپنی بہن سے بولے عمر یہ تو بتا کیا کرتی تھی اپنی بہن سے بولے عمر یہ تو بتا کیا کرتی تھی میرے آنے سے پہلے کیا چھپ کے پڑھتی تھی میرے آنے سے پہلے کیا چھپ کے پڑھتی تھی بہن نے جب قرآن پڑھا سن کے کلام پاک خدا دل یہ عمر کا بول اٹھا لا الہ الا اللہ حسبی ربی جل اللہ ما فی قلبی غیر اللہ نور محمد صلی اللہ لا الہ الا اللہ.
Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching the special Muharram transmission, the Saviours of Islam. And unfortunately today we've had a shortened program, but you can realize that there's so much to discuss with regards to this great personality. However, time is again. We are watching the programs on Madani Channel, and inshallah Azza wa Jal, tomorrow 9 p.m. UK time till 11 p.m. with a break in the middle for our Salatul Isha. We'll be here again with a different topic with relation to the companions and the Saviours of Islam, inshallah Azza wa Jal. So keep watching Madani Channel and keep tuned to Madani Channel. Sallu ala al-Habib.
Saviours of Islam, Saviours of Islam, Saviours of Islam.